Oh my God. Good morning, my sweet friends. Do we open this? Oh, she's bright. We'll have to see how it goes. Hello. I know we've been doing a lot of more podcast content on the old Patreon, but I wanted to do a good old-fashioned just catch-up situation. And honestly, I don't know why I feel nervous to make this video or talk about this. I think it's because there's a lot of just pressure on women in general, as we know, as we talk about, to kind of always have it together, right? But something I want to talk about is this power and presence of, it's so interesting. A lot of people ask me about pregnancy anxiety, or, just I think when people ask me about it is anxiety around your pregnancy, around something happening during your pregnancy. And guess what? I have no anxiety around my actual pregnancy, around my child. But what does happen is I've talked to my doctor about it, and she's your hormones, you're going through things, big life changes. I am just not feeling myself today. And I think that really just owning and honoring that of I don't know, I get nervous talking about it because it's I'm not depressed, I'm not anxious, I simply have a lot of feelings running through my body. And it's almost I don't know, I always feel I'll never forget this one time I did make a video on YouTube where it was just a driving video, which, if you guys don't know, I film a lot in my car. I do a lot of podcasts in my car because the car is very soothing to me. The same way that I love a mukbang or eating, it's very soothing to me. So when I'm doing, oh, sorry, you okay? So when I'm doing this, it not only helps being in motion, kind of moving through the energy, but then also just doing things that feel good. Okay, this might be too much. Doing things that feel good and knowing how to self-soothe, right? So anywho, point being is that I get really nervous to talk about these things or to even bring it up, because I will never forget this one time this was probably the worst that my mental health had ever been. I made this video on my way to Dry Bar, and I was talking about how I was having a really anxious day. And I think that this idea that we need a reason to, feel off, to feel down, to feel anxious, to feel depressed, whatever the label is that you want to put on it, it's I really opened up and shared it. And it's the first thing for me and this is why I'm such an advocate for self-care, soul care. We talk about the difference in my courses all the time, but self-care, especially in combination with the soul care. So when I say soul care, I mean really looking at am I meditating? Am I journaling? Am I showing up for these things that I know make my energy feel good? That I know is connecting my heart to myself? That I know is grounding my energy into myself now, right? Where self-care is a little more surface level, where it's have I drinking enough water today? Have I washed my hair? Have I been showering? Am I physically taking care of my physical vessel? Because I think also with that too, I know that personally with me, whenever I was feeling super just off or anxious or down, and I know that I don't use words depression and anxiety a lot, but that is only because I feel so strongly that we will become so attached to these labels that then we look for these cues of them coming up in our life. And just talking about mental health, growing up with my mom who did struggle so deeply with it, I also feel one of the biggest struggles was it was just that's all anyone ever saw her as. And I don't know, it's a whole shebang. But then I have people where if I do talk about mental health, they want to label me, they want to label me as manic, or they want to call me bipolar, or whatever these things are, And so I always like feel so torn of like wanting to share these things, but then this one time that I did kind of share more about it, where I was having like a really hard, anxious time, I was like, I made myself a dry bar appointment, and even sharing like the anxiety of knowing how like gross my hair was, but knowing it needed to be washed and I needed to do this for myself, and doing that, like all the comments were just like, what does she have to be anxious about? Or, oh, driving your Range Rover to dry bar, like, what do you have to be anxious about? And it's like putting these labels on people. It's so interesting just now that I'm pregnant and kind of feeling into this energy that I know is not my own, in the sense of like my body is going through so many things. And instead of, you know, I talk about this in the Inner Goddess Collective a lot, of like, you don't need to label the feeling for the feeling to be valid. Does that make sense? So instead of like spending all my energy and all my time and like all of this precious energy that I do have, because, you know, we've all been there. We've all felt off. We've all felt down. We have all felt at one point in our life like disconnected from our life and ourself, whether it be in a moment, a day, a month, a whole chapter of your life, whatever the fuck it is. Like really looking at this piece of us of like, instead of spending all this energy and dwelling on why am I feeling this way, what is this, I'm letting myself feel it, and also not giving it like these grounding roots into my soul, into my essence, into my being, and knowing, okay, like, can I let myself feel this? Yes, let myself feel it, love myself enough to feel it, show up for myself, like giving myself, again, the soul care, the self-care, and making sure that I'm taking care of myself, not only for me, also for the baby, also so I show up for my family and all these things, also for myself and again the baby. But really looking at this piece of us of where am I clinging to this feeling, so then I have a reason in my head to feel bad, right? It's almost like we want to validate anything in our life that gives us an excuse to feel bad, because we think that we might have to feel that way. And I like get kind of nervous talking about a lot of the pregnancy stuff, in the sense of it's very rare that I feel that way. And then I think that a lot of people, if we talk about it too much, it's kind of like this thing of like, oh, why haven't I felt pregnancy anxiety yet? Or, oh, why haven't I been feeling off? Like, oh, I'm just actually really enjoying my pregnancy. Is that wrong? Is that bad? It's like, no, that is perfect for you. That is perfect for you. And so, you know, just today I like woke up and I just felt really off, and I know exactly where it stemmed from too. So also knowing that, and like having the cues that I have and not giving it too much meaning, and knowing that, you know, yesterday I was just like having just this pain that I was dealing with, and I called the doctor's office, because if you've been pregnant, or you will find out when you're pregnant, that if anything is going on while you're pregnant, they're like, call your doctor. So I was just calling because I had been feeling this like chest pain for off and on for like over a week. And so I was like, I should probably call my doctor, because I was like in tears yesterday. It was like so painful. And I was trying to figure out, like, I could not logically figure out what was hurting, like, and it sounds so funny, and that's why I was just like, I was needing to kind of put it outside myself of like, I know something does not feel good, and I need to just like communicate this with my doctor. Because another thing that my doctor says when I come into my appointments, if I tell her about things, she's always like, yes, please call next time. Like, I don't know, I guess because I was a parent, or not a parent, will be a parent, because I was a child of 2 addicts, I always like, I kept a lot to myself, and I didn't want to be a bother. So now I'm realizing, I'm like, oh, you're supposed to like share these things, like, you're my doctor, this is why we're here. So I called, and I was like, you know, the girl answered the phone or whatever, and I was like, hi, like, you know, I'm so-and-so, I see so-and-so, I'm X weeks pregnant, and I am having a lot of chest pain, and I was wondering if a doctor or one of the doctor's assistants could call me, which they do. And I was just like, I'm trying to kind of figure out what it is, because when I say that I couldn't figure out the pain, it was like so deeply in my chest. I was like, are my titties hurting? Like, I have had like the milk duct pain, it's called, where it's like your nipples are like, you know, doing things, getting ready, and like that's a whole different type of pain. This was almost like a pressure, and it was very odd. We don't need to diagnose me here. We're not nurses, we're not doctors. You're not my doctor. Love us all to pieces, but if I've learned anything, it's that we'll leave it to who it's meant to be for. So, long story short, she then cut me off when I asked if somebody could call me just to hear me out, and she tells me that that's not for OB, that I need to call my primary, or if I think it's serious, go to the ER. And I was like, okay. And I think I laughed, because I laugh when I'm uncomfortable. And she was like, yeah, there's not a lot OB can do. And I was like, and my thing was that every time I go to the doctor, I have a higher heart rate. She says that I'm just what does she call me? She has like a funny thing for it that like makes it sound lighthearted. I'm pretty sure your heart rate and your blood pressure are different. I'm not a doctor, I have no idea. But anywho, my heart rate is always a little bit higher. They always like, the nurse taking my blood pressure always takes it twice. She's like, yeah, she always just like, she's a high functioning person or something like that. And so, obviously, the moment I'm feeling pain, I'm like so worried. I'm like, oh my God, I have preeclampsia. And preeclampsia is like not great at all, you know? And so I was just trying to figure out with my doctor, because there's certain things you can do for even like the type of pain that you feel when you're pregnant, for like indigestion or heartburn, can be from like such different things. That's not normal heartburn. It's so weird. The pregnant body is a miracle and a maze at the same time. Or a perfect example is like, I was feeling the pain not only in my chest and like on the side of my boobs, like, but also like in my rib cage. And so something that can happen is like from baby growing and like, you know, extending this way, your organs are getting moved up, your rib cage sometimes gets stretched a little bit. And so I was trying to figure out like how, you know, just trying to communicate with my doctor, of just what I'm feeling, and just telling me directly to go to the ER, because then somebody called me back and was like, oh, you know, it was reported to me, they told you to go to the ER. I was like, no, they also told me that I could just call primary, which obviously I'm not going to call primary, because I very much know it's connected to my pregnancy. Women's intuition over everything. And so it was a very stressful moment. And then communicating, being like, I don't feel heard, I feel like you guys are brushing me off, because they then just kept repeating, this has nothing to do with your pregnancy, this is not connected to pregnancy, this is not connected to this doctor. And I'm like, okay. And I knew that it was not serious enough to go to the ER. And so, I mean, long story short, if the pain comes back, I'll go to the ER, whatever. I'm totally fine. Love modern medicine. We can let her in. Love being supported, love being seen. But in that moment, not feeling supported, not feeling seen, and very much being brushed off of just like, oh, go to the ER. And I was like, and tell them what? That I can't tell if my chest or my tits hurt? Like, they're gonna be like, are you okay? And I'm gonna be like, no. So just like, and those moments are not truly that big of a deal. And even knowing that internally, it's really not that big of a deal. But it's one of those things of like, you're already pregnant, you already feel a lot of things. Literally, a restaurant can be closed that I wanted to go to, and I will cry. And it's not like I'm super worked up or like a lot's going on. When I say that pregnancy is a miracle and a maze, y'all, I mean it. So that's just kind of where I've been at. And so I woke up today and I was just feeling very much not myself. I was feeling very down and just like a lot, like energetically feeling a lot. And so it's so funny. You know what? I have found that, like, I love social media. I think that we can consciously consume social media and it can be like beautiful and great and like all these things. TikTok is a very interesting platform. I love creating on TikTok. I think it's a very like natural, organic platform where I like how raw and kind of uncut the videos can be. I really enjoy that. Those are my favorite videos to watch. Those are my favorite videos to film. YouTube actually, and TikTok, like that's kind of my thing. I don't enjoy super like, what's the word, like staged, how people want to create an atmosphere that's almost not there, which I think is like kind of the problem with that whole idea of like romanticizing your life. People want to romanticize their life visually, but they don't energetically like tap in of like romanticizing, loving my life, all these things like that. So maybe we should make a video on that. But really looking at, I was feeling so funky and just not myself, feeling down. Like, that's the only way. I was just feeling down. I was feeling like, ugh, not me, not myself. And I can say too that before I got pregnant, if I was ever feeling like more tired, if I was feeling like more down, if I was feeling very like fatigued and out of it and just disconnected, there's things that I could do. Of course, my morning practice, of course, things like that. But also, your girl, I mean, we know I love the go, go, go energy. I love the fire energy. I love it. So, like, you know what I mean? Like, with some caffeine and let's get it moving and grooving. I can't do that anymore pregnant. And so really having to be in this energy of accepting where my energy is and breathing into the moment and letting my body feel how it needs to feel. It's knowing that it's not right, wrong, good, or bad. It's simply where we're at and letting ourselves move through it. But I brought up TikTok because like, we can almost curate more what we see on like Instagram and YouTube, right? Like, we have our subscriptions, we have all these things. I know on TikTok it's like, oh, you have the following, but am I the only one who really mainly sticks to the For You page on TikTok? Someone let me know. But unless I'm like making TikToks, that's honestly the main reason I'm on TikTok. I like to make TikToks. I think they're fun to make. But the For You page, I just felt like everything I was seeing this morning was about, what's that girl's name? Gabby Hanna, and then about Trisha and Ethan, and I'm like, and then there's this other like TikToker, her handle is like Ash Ventures or something, and she was talking about how she was like dealing with a stalker and how this is like the most successful that she's ever been in her life, but like now she feels like she can't be happy. And then it brought me back to when I was dealing with that chapter in my life, and I was just like, you know, just being online, I know that people are like, oh, you're a creator and be grateful and all these things, and we can't ever complain, you can't ever talk about what goes on with it, the bad parts of it. And it's like all these feelings just came back, and knowing too that it's like, it's almost that I was in this lower place already, so then it was like my mind needed to find anything to cling to that was a past version of me where that vibration felt true and valid, because nothing felt true and valid to like have that emotion, to have that energy in the now. And so, you know, really just looking at this morning of like, it was a very, very small spiral of things, and like none of these things were untrue or not valid. Sorry, they're doing road work on this road, so like now the little bumpy things are like actually in the road. But, you know, really looking at these pieces of us, of sometimes we can let one small thing set us off, but then also looking at just this experience and being pregnant of like, sometimes I just like, my hormones get the best of me, man. Like, they are a lot. And I am someone who like, I have a lot of things on my plate, I juggle a lot of things, but I enjoy doing that. So on these days where I don't energetically feel, whether it's that I feel down, whether it's that I don't physically have the energy, like I feel fatigued and tired, like I then get more worked up in my head where I'm like, oh, I don't have the energy, I need to do this, I need to do this, I need to do this, like this is being done of me, this order needs to get sent out, this person is messaging me about this. And it's like, I then almost get in this like loop and spiral in my mind of like, well, you know, I don't know, even if I want to like pause and be like, okay, just like take a moment, regroup, and then stressing about everything I need to do. So these moments in pregnancy are very, very interesting. And yeah, just sharing that, just being open to it. There's nothing to fix also. I think that's the other part too, of like knowing that there's nothing to fix, because in all actuality, like a lot of the things that like need to get done, like I had forced myself to take a little social media break because I was just my doctor told me I need to manage my stress better, and I was like, okay, so here's one thing I can do. I can disconnect more. And so I took my little break, and then I was on my little break, Haley tore her ACL, and just like that, poor Haley, I feel so bad for her. Like, she thought she was just going in for a grooming appointment. She thought she was going to Idaho for a little grooming appointment. She said, yes, bitch, getting this hair done. She said, finally looking you know, rougher than a fucking nail file, you know what I mean? So then she tears her ACL. We have to go to Idaho because her vet is there. A lot of people give me shit for going to Idaho so much, but like best vet, best groomer, best grandparents, and the vets up here fucking suck. Own and honor that 1000%. They literally scammed me out of like $900 one time, and like honestly, I can respect the hustle, but I don't respect like going back, you know? So I choose to stick to the vet up there. It's honestly also not that long of a drive. I think people think it's farther than it is. And so, you know, Miss Haley had to go there. We thought it wasn't going to be that invasive of a surgery. Oh, and I forgot to mention, this is like her good back leg. If you've been part of the Lace family for a very long time, you know that she had hip surgery. When was that? It was like my 22nd birthday, I think. I was like coming back from Vegas, or I had just gotten back from Vegas with like Megan and Nikki and Katie, and poor Haley like dislocated her hip. They went in, they were like, oh, her hip or her, like the ball of her hip, whatever the fuck it's called, is like too big for her actual hip socket. They removed the hip ball, they shaved down the hip socket, and essentially she doesn't have like that joint now. It's just her muscles grew to the socket. So she then in that knee, the knee has to like compensate so much for that hip that now that's like her bad knee, and it has arthritis. Well, on her good leg back there now, she tore her ACL. And so I was just like so worried about her. As we know, Haley is like, you know, my first baby, and so I was like, do whatever you need to do. Like, yes, we'll do it. They're like, okay, like we really might recommend this like laser therapy, which was not that expensive. It was just that she had to be there for like every day. I think they wanted to do it every other day or every 3 days or something. So we originally were only going to do 6 treatments, and then we bumped it up to 9. And like, I had no problem being there, especially for the reason of being there. But when I have things like crystal orders that need to get shipped, or even just like not being home, you know, like I had to move doctor's appointments, and it was just a lot. That's all. Like, it was just a lot, and there's nothing to fix. It's just like I'm still playing catch up. And so then I just get really worked up in my head, you know? I get really worked up and like, oh, I don't want to let people down. Oh, I don't want people to think that like I don't care, or that I'm ignoring them. And I think that because I am so hands-on and like involved in everything, like, and I also don't think people know or like realize that like I am involved in every single aspect. Like, I do it all. It is all me. And so I think that just trying to really balance where my time and energy is going, and like setting up just structure to have more flow, just creates more ease in my life mentally creating more ease. So yeah, I got up. It was a rough mental morning. I filmed a couple videos for Bloom, which I love to do. It brings me so much joy. And then I just took some time outside with Haley, who I still feel bad that, you know, obviously we're home now, but her poor leg is still not like thriving.
Welcome to Nevada.
Thank you so much. It's still not thriving. I am very much hoping that I don't deal with that chest pain today. Thank you so much. And I have to go pick something up for the nursery. So I was like, while I'm down here, I am going to take myself to lunch, take a breath, sit, breathe, and just, when I say like really looking at, like, I know more than anyone, and I teach this so much in my courses, that you very much, this idea that we teach women that they can't do it all, they can't have it all at the same time, like, I don't agree with that at all. Because I also know that like the only reason I feel stressed out is just certain parts of my life were requiring more of me, and like in all actuality, it's like, I know that I'm someone who I prefer to do like big things at once, if that makes sense. So it's like, if I only have 1 or 2 crystal orders, it's like, I'm gonna wait until there's like a few more to ship them out. And so if I have like 1 login that needs to get sent, it's like, sometimes I'll remember to do it right then, yes. But I think just setting up more structure of like, these are the days I do this, these are the days I do that, that's gonna help me also just when like Lila's here, you know? So I am just having to look at that, you know? And I think that's something we like all get to do, and it doesn't make you bad, it doesn't make you unorganized, it doesn't make you like mean you can't do something or you're bad at something. I think just this idea of like, if it's not perfect, you're just not good at it and it can't be done. It's like, no, it's just, you get to be in flow with it. You really do get to be in flow with it. And I'm just so excited about that launch that I have going on with Creation Goddess. Just like having all these things is actually very easy, and creating the things for them is very easy. It's when like the ego and our human self gets in the way of thinking, oh, it has to be perfect before I can do it, before I can launch it, before I can like, you know, feel like I'm worthy of having it, whatever it may be. It's like, we're all fucking doing our best, and I think just removing this idea of perfectionism, you know, that's the greatest gift we can give ourselves. So I am very excited. I love this little catch up. So if you feel overwhelmed right now, just know it's just a day, it's just a moment, and we're all moving through it. Even though mine is just pregnancy hormones, I mean, ours can, you know, yours in the situation you're in could be someone said something to set you off, and it's having to look at like, why am I still giving this or these words or this memory like so much power over me? I talked about this in the Inner Goddess Collective the other day, but I had such this proud self moment of, I had not seen, and I didn't even realize this, I had not seen like a photo of, what's that guy's name? My dad, and then like my stepmom and everything like that. I'd never seen what my half siblings look like. Well, I knew what my half sister looked like because my dad sent me a photo one time. Passive aggressive Scorpio. And oh, sir, careful with your boat. Oh my god, his little boat was swerving. I'm like, sir, oh my god, careful. You're driving a Maserati, dragging that little tugboat. Careful with him. Got real worried about him. Not worried about me and my van, your boat. But I had seen a photo of them for the first time in like years. Seat behind me. Better slow down, sir. And I think we always like have more fear and anxiety around seeing these people who hurt us. And we always like have like these wondering moments, right? Of like, oh, that feels overwhelming. Like, no, I felt nothing. And I was so proud of myself. So I think just also I bring that up to say like, honoring your small wins of like knowing that even though these people, these situations who should like in society who tells us that, oh, this is the most impactful thing that ever happened to you, this is hurtful, this is going to be hard to heal from, hard to move on from. No, like I truly felt nothing, and I was so proud of myself because it is like, obviously it like took time, but the forgiveness that I have for those people, and not even the indifference, but like the love and forgiveness that I have for them of like, just because I can't be in your life, just because we're not like how people say a family should look, or how a family, you know, how a situation should be, just because it doesn't look like that. Like, I am just so proud of myself, and especially like an inner child healing moment too, of like, I had to choose myself at such a young age, right? And so especially for that side of the family, I don't know if I've ever like said this or talked about this, but their narrative that they have, that, you know, other family members have told me, they've said to me, is that I abandoned them. That this 16-year-old version of Marissa abandoned them. And so, you know, really having to be okay with that, having to be okay that that is how they see it, that is how they tell their story to other people, that is the light that they twist it in. And I had to be okay with it, and I had to also like forgive them for feeling that way, but also being okay that they're gonna feel that way, and knowing that there's nothing I can do about it. So not only forgiving them as like the parental figures of like, this isn't how a childhood is supposed to go, that's not how I'm supposed to be treated, instead of being in this like still victim mindset and like upset at these people, I just see them as people and know that like maybe they were doing their best, maybe they weren't, but like I refuse to spend any more of my life like trying to understand these humans, when like the only understanding that I need is that I was who I needed. I stepped up and I became who I needed. And yeah, just proud moments, proud inner child moments, proud growth moments. And these are moments where it's always like you have to be proud. It's always bold when people do that, when you're like 3 lanes merging. You're like, oof. But really being proud of yourself, especially like because I am becoming a parent, and all of this work, like seeing so clearly that all of the work that I have been doing the past 10 years around, you know, not even forgiving my mom, but just loving my mom for who she is as a person, not just as my mom. And then forgiving like my dad and, you know, that whole situation. Like all of that work was not just about me. All of that work and all of that devotion to, I mean, healing, but also being understanding and being compassionate. All of that. People ask me like, one of the like popular questions I saw in here for like my pregnancy Q&A was like, how am I preparing for baby? I think the best thing that you can do to become a parent is make sure that you are solid on your own with your own parents, because I think that if we just keep perpetuating these same cycles, like I had one question about like how did you like heal your lineage trauma? How are you not passing on the trauma? It's like, well, it's an active choice if we want to continue that. It's an active choice to even believe that you are still carrying that. And I think just remembering and reminding yourself, mind, body, soul too, that like you are your own person. I think that, you know, and I had to learn that from such an early age, because I am a dead ringer of my mother, which is almost like how I know that Lila very much will look like me. And even James is like shook at all of the ultrasounds. He is so sweet. He just like tears up. He's like, we're just having a little mini you, and my pregnancy hormones, I cry. But it is so sweet to see like James getting so excited about the baby, but then also knowing that like having these proud moments of like nothing is getting passed on to her that is not valid for her soul experience in this lifetime, and knowing too that like she is her own person. I've seen a lot of comments like on Instagram and stuff. People will be like, do you think she's your mom reincarnated? No. No, I don't think that's how that works. And like knowing my mother also, like that's not her soul mission to come back and be my child. And so, you know, really looking at all I had to do was be the parent that I needed, and also not holding on to these expectations for outside people. This has become a really long ramble. This video is so much longer than I expected it or wanted it to be, but just a little catch up. We're all in our feelings today. Our hormones are going crazy. Lila's going through like this stage right now. I forget what it's called. She's essentially like doubling her weight and size over the next, well, it's already been 2 weeks, so we're 2 weeks into it. It's a 4-week process about, and it's a lot on the body. It is a lot on the body. I haven't done a bump update for you guys, have I? I'm not gonna lie, y'all. Mama Lace, Grandma Lace, the bitches before us, thank you so much for my jeans. Holding pregnancy like a queen. Love to see it. That's always something I've been interested in. I'm like, oh, how is my body gonna handle pregnancy? How is my body gonna hold pregnancy? And I love to see it. She's doing real well. So, oh, ma, papa, cute. But I love you guys so much. I hope you enjoyed this this little catch up. I can't wait to hear how you guys are feeling, what's going on with you. And I hope some of you connected with this. I just love you all so much, and sometimes I just feel really nervous isn't the word. I guess the word might be guarded of like sharing lower moments, because honestly a very weird part of my job is some people like to kick you while you're down, and some people want to see you down and want to humanize you that way of like, it's very odd. Very, very odd. But I love you guys so much. We're gonna go to lunch. I'll probably film a mukbang. Who knows where it's gonna go. If you're not following me on TikTok, definitely follow me on TikTok. And if you have a TikTok, leave it down below, please, so I can follow you. But I just love you guys so much. I hope you're having the best freaking day, and I hope a handful of you, if not a large sum of you, connected with this, because we're all humans. Well, we're all spiritual beings having a human experience, and boy oh boy is this human experience something some days, let me tell ya.